But it's TJ, the Stereo-Bargainphile, and I am super fired up today, you all, to bring you my full video review of Audiolab's very own 8300A, which is basically a 2-channel dual mono integrated amplifier that is Class A, B, and pure analog. That's right, y'all, it is pure analog. And when I was talking about being dual mono integrated amplifier instead of a stereo integrated amplifier, dual mono just simply meaning there's 2 amplifiers built inside the 8300A. You have one amplifier that is dedicated to drive the right side speaker. You have another amplifier built inside to drive the left hand side speaker. But anyways, before I jump any deeper into this video review, I want to give a big, huge thank you to Joe, Nataliya, and Shirly from Industrues, a division of American Audio and Video, for sending me the integrated amplifier on a loan lease agreement so we could have this video review today. So, big thank you to you all because I've had a lot of fun with this amplifier. I'm real quickly going to go over just some light specs with you all. If you want to read more, down in the description box, I will upload the link for you. And then real quickly, when I go over the features, we're going to have a very good close-up look all the way around the amplifier because you all, this amplifier is built very well. And then, yes, real quickly, I will talk about the overall tonal character and sound performance of the 8300A, and I'll use a couple different other amplifiers to compare against. So, let's go ahead and get straight into this. The specs with the 8300A, it does come in at 75 watts at 4 ohms and 110 watts at 4 ohms. But one really cool thing about this amplifier, even having a smaller form factor, is it can draw up to 15 amps of power to drive the most difficult loads out there, that speakers that you know aren't the most efficient. And having 2 amplifiers built inside, yes, that is an advantage also. Another thing, the size and dimensions, the amplifier sets up about 3.5 inches tall, and I think it's about 13 inches deep, and it's 17.5 inches across, and it weighs about 17 pounds. Now for my friends over across the pond, I think that's 7.8 kilograms, and the front would be 80 millimeters tall and 330 millimeters in depth, and then 440 millimeters across overall. But anyways, that was just some quick specs. Now let's have a close-up look of the 8300A so I can take you all through all the different settings, or what I like to call this amplifier, the big brother from another mother of the 6000A. So now let's have that close-up look, and we're going to go back inside. Just real quick, before I give you that close-up look all the way around this very well-built 8300A dual mono integrated amplifier, I almost forgot to mention the total price point over here in the United States. And the 8300A comes in at $1,699 US at Audio Advisor. Audio Advisor is a company that I would highly recommend, for they have outstanding customer service. But with any kind of audio gear or even speakers, I would highly recommend that you try to audition them first before buying them. But if you cannot do that, you know, try to watch as many video reviews and written reviews online that you possibly can to see if the amplifier is going to be for you. And again, you all, the 8300A was built by Jan Earthner of IAG, one of the head audio engineers, for sound performance. This amplifier was not built to have a lot of digital features built inside. It is pure analog. Again, pure analog meaning there's no built-in Bluetooth, there's no built-in streamer, there's no built-in DAC, and the 8300 doesn't even have a built-in headphone amplifier on the front of the amplifier. When you have all these features built inside an integrated amplifier, not only does it draw power from one power supply, but it can add a lot of radio frequencies inside the integrated amplifier also that can hurt, you know, the performance of the overall sound. Again, the 8300A was built for sound performance. And yes, I did not borrow this shirt from the Audio Philiac, Steve Guttenberg. But one thing I will tell you about this t-shirt is this shirt has so much life. Okay everyone, it is time for that close-up look of Audiolab's 8300A dual mono integrated amplifier. Now I was just telling you all that there's no built-in digital features of the 8300A, but we have a lot of analog features that I know that you all are going to find very interesting. Now after this close-up look, after we go all the way around the 8300, yes, you already know what time it is. We are going to take a deeper dive inside the 8300A and look at the build quality inside. But to kick this off, as you all can see on the front screen, we have XLR inputs. That's right, the 8300A does have fully balanced XLR inputs. Now if we go over here to the selector knob, we can go through our different inputs, but every time we change to a different input, Audiolab actually has a relay on the back that opens and closes that input to have less noise. So I'll go over here to the selector. Let's go ahead and change it. And every time I change this, you all will hear that relay. So we'll go from XLR to auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2, video, tuner, CD, phono. Now the phono preamp built inside is moving magnet and also moving coil. And back to XLR. Now next to that we have our different modes. And one thing I'll tell you, these knobs feel so smooth, y'all. But the different modes with this amplifier is very cool. You can use the 8300A as an integrated amplifier, or you can use it as a dedicated preamplifier. And I will tell you all, the preamplifier is outstanding in the 8300A. And also, you can use the amplifier as a dedicated amplifier for people that want to use it for home theater bypass. So we're going to go through the modes. There's integrated amp, and there's your pre-power amplifier, and you heard the clicking was actually turning off the preamp inside. But if I go to preamp mode, this will actually turn off the power amplifier inside. And that is really cool that it works like that. And back to integrated amplifier. Now our volume control over here is a ladder design. And it feels very smooth in its attenuation. And the one thing about this amplifier, you all, is you got to really dig into that volume knob to get, some good loudness sound out of it. Meaning, you just don't turn it up a little bit and it's loud. You got to really dig into it. And it does feel so smooth overall. Then over here on the side, you see we have our standby button. We'll go to standby. Now I'm going to turn it back on for you all, so you can see it light up. And we have a mains power switch in the back. That is something that I love that Audiolab does. Alright, now let's go to the back of the dual mono integrated amplifier. Okay, I almost forgot to show you all the other mode when I push it in. It'll show the software version. I'll turn it. You can do the display brightness from 1 all the way up to 8, of course. I'll push it in again. Your phono mode, moving magnet, push it in. Or you can go to moving coil. I'll go again. You can go to default mode, default input, and trigger out control, and trigger in control. Or auto standby. You can say never, meaning the amplifier isn't going to just kick off for no reason. Or you can put it 20 minutes. Or never. And I like never, meaning after 20 minutes if the amplifier don't see a signal, it'll cut it off. Okay, now let's go to the back of the integrated amp. Okay, here we are at the back of the Audiolab 8300A 2-channel dual mono integrated amplifier. I want to go through this very quickly with y'all because I'm getting excited to take you for a deeper dive inside. Over here on the far left hand corner, you will see we have our main power toggle switch. I love how Audiolab incorporates that with so many of their products. Now down below that over here, we actually have our fuse holder. Let me give you a closer look. Okay, here's our fuse holder on the outside. If the fuse was to ever to blow, all you'd have to do is pop this out and change the fuse inside. A lot of integrated amplifiers, I have seen that you have to take off the top cover to get to this. And then we have our power IEC input. I love seeing this. Now next to that, over here, you see we have our right side and left side speaker binding post, but you see that there's for two different sets of speakers. And no, the 8300A doesn't have speakers A and speakers B output. This was mainly intended for people that have speakers that are biampable, that you would actually use, the right side, you would use one set for the low frequencies and the other set for the high frequencies. But you can still use these with one set of speakers. But if you really want to use two sets of speakers with the 8300A, Audiolab does recommend that you use speakers that are 8 ohms and above. Now over here, you can see we have our main power amp input, meaning if you want to use the 8300A for home theater bypass, that is an awesome feature. But another thing that's very cool is look at the pre-outs, y'all. We have not one, but two full range pre-outs, meaning you could run these out to many different power or active subwoofers or to another pair of amplifiers. But then next to that, one of my favorite features overall is the fully balanced XLR inputs. I really love XLR input, you all. In my experience with many different amplifiers that I've had this fully balanced XLR inputs, to me it has always sounded better than the single-ended inputs. But that's me. Now next to that, we have our auxiliary input, auxiliary 2 input, video input, tuner, and CD. Basically, these 6 are all auxiliary inputs. The last one, we have our phono preamp input, and we have for our ground wire also. And one thing I do want to tell you all is that all these inputs have their own relays built inside that open and close when you choose that input. And this really helps to have lower noise. But anyways, you all, I'm getting very excited. It is time to pop the hood and take you all for a deeper dive inside. It is time, you all, for me to pop the hood and take you all for a deeper dive inside. But first, I must warn you, it can be very dangerous and even fatal taking the cover off any kind of amplifier. So please allow me to do this for you. Oh my goodness, you all, look at this build quality of this dual mono integrated amplifier. Even the steel casing on the front faceplate and the sides is very thick. And from here, you all, I can see lots of shielding going on inside. So first, let's take a look at this big toroidal transformer, which is our mains transformer built in the UK, United Kingdom. We got some epoxy over top. I think this one is rated at 300 VA. There's a brand name for you all right there. And as you can see, all this cabling is shielded very well inside. Then behind it here, we have our ELNA filter caps, 15,000 microfarads each, giving us a total of 60,000 microfarads, which is 30,000 microfarads per amplifier. Didn't say per channel. Then we go back here in the far corner. You can see where our main power IEC comes in, shielded very nicely. Above that, those two leads that you see right there actually go to the toggle switch. You can see the shielding runs all the way to the ends. And behind that, we have our safety circuit board. It's got shielding over top of it also. Oh my goodness. Then up here in this corner, there we have our German-made Omron speaker relays. Good to see. Now let's follow down these speaker cables inside to our binding post. Here you all go. See, we have some really nice gold-plated jumpers and the ends of the speaker cables. All the way to the end of it is shielded very well. Now you could take these jumpers out if you wanted to, but you would have to use the two in the middle you see right here. This would be your left channel and your right channel. So let's come back inside. We see some more caps inside. Then over here, that's our 12 volt trigger that I didn't talk about when I had the close up of the back. Next to that,
Those red RCA inputs here actually have your two pre-outs right here, and this is your amp input. Got very good silver shielding over top. Did I say shielding? Silver plating. Okay, here's my XLR inputs, fully balanced. Looks like it has gold plating on it. We got some nice op amps down here. Then here's going to be all our single-ended inputs. Back here, and you can see here's the relays I was talking about. Depending on what input you choose, the rest of the inputs will turn off. Then down here on the end, we have our phono preamp board. This looks like we have some nice Texas Instrument op amps. These little red things you see over here, these are just little WEMA caps. Some more capacitor, more op amps. Alright, now I want to take a good look at both of these amplifiers because they have a lot of output devices, and I want to show you all the driver board also. But I'm going to have to turn the amplifier around to show you all this. Okay, now I can show you all a good look at the driver boards on the amplifier and the output stage, which are BJTs, bipolar junction transistors. So on each amplifier we have 1, 2, 3, 4. On the other amplifier we have 4 more, giving us a total of 8 output transistor or output devices. Now if we come down here and look at this driver board, very well done. This one right here is throwing me for a loop. This is some kind of voltage regulator. It's got its own little heat sink, and it's got 3 transistors on it. That's regulating the voltage. It's got to be. And then one thing I found very interesting, you all, is all the resistors on this driving board. Look up here where you would see the leads hanging out of the board. All of them are covered up with this plastic for shielding. Every single one of them. Look down here. We'll go all the way down through it. Oh, there's a Panasonic relay right there. Let me get that in good for you. Yep, they sure did. That's good quality. But look at all these resistors, you all. Every single one of them are shielded. That's a lot of attention paid to detail. Another thing I noticed were these copper standoffs from the driver circuit board. Between the heat sink, you have to do this so you can get space to keep these output stage BJTs cooled. And they are good size. Look at the size of these. I couldn't see the front of them to see exactly what they are, but the length of them is all the way down here to these leads that you see that are soldered in. So these are really nice size BJTs. Very nice size. And another thing I noticed with this amplifier, y'all, let me get that in better for you, is it's even got shielding underneath the amplifier. You see this brown stuff underneath here? Like this paper? That is actually used for shielding. And I didn't figure out that this was for shielding on both of these amplifiers until I actually took off the top cover or the top plate. As you can see, it has shielding underneath of the top plate. But yeah, the engineers at Audiolab done an outstanding job with this amplifier. My hat is off to them. Now somebody may say, well, TJ, this is a dual mono integrated amplifier. Why don't you have 2 transformers inside? Well, the toroidal transformer inside the 8300A is powerful enough for both amplifiers, and the windings go in different directions for both of the amplifiers. And again, back here, this is going to be your volume control right here, and this is a pure analog volume control. The whole integrated amplifier is pure analog. No tone controls, just straight up. Alright, I'm going to end this video of giving my impressions of the overall sound performance and tonal character. I'm going to wrap this video up talking about my subjective opinion of the overall sound performance and the total character of the 8300A. But I had to pop the hood for y'all and take you inside. I had to show you that overall build quality. Now, one thing about the 8300A is in the title of this video review, I have called it the big brother from another mother of this amplifier over here to my right hand side, the 6000A. Now, the reason why I call it the big brother, of course, because the 8300A has a bigger sound to it overall.
You know, the overall weight is heavier. There's more flesh and body to the overall sound. And you all, that is to be expected. I mean, the price point of the 8300A compared to the 6000A is about $500 US. And the 8300A, again, is pure analog, where with the 6000A, you do get a built-in DAC, built-in Bluetooth, and a built-in headphone amplifier. But I also called the 8300A not only the big brother, but I also called it from another mother. Now, what I mean by from another mother is, yes, the 8300A sounds different than the 6000A. The 8300A, I would tell you like this. If you're somebody that's looking for that smooth, warm, and rich kind of sounding amplifier, then the 8300A is not for you. The 8300A has a very uncolored sound to it, being very transparent, almost neutral sounding. I mean, when I was hooking it up in my different systems that I have like 12 different amplifiers and about 12 different sets of speakers. And the amplifier, the 8300A, just got out of the way, you all. It wasn't added any kind of color. But what this amplifier did add was very good dynamics, y'all. The dynamics are outstanding with this amplifier. Not only that, the overall clarity and detail refinement. Let me tell you all something. This amplifier has precision when it comes to clarity and detail refinement. The low-end bass has really good weight to it overall. Now, the low-end bass is not extended at all. It's not extended. This amplifier is very well balanced sounding. Let's say you're listening to a music playback and the recording has strong bass. Well, you're going to hear strong bass. But if you listen to a recording that has weak bass, well, you're going to hear weak bass. But the one thing I can tell you about the bass with the 8300A, even compared to the Marantz PM8006, is the bass with the 8300A has what I call nuance bass. The bass is very fast, it's tight, it's got good grip to it. But the Marantz PM8006, the low-end bass, yes, it's extended a little bit. It's a little bit more rounder, and it does have a little bit more heft to the overall sound. But the 8300A does have more heft to the bass than the 6000A. Now, when I start talking about the mid-range of the Audiolab 8300, you all, the mid-range is so clean that male and female vocals actually sound their age to me, you all. And the top end, the very top end of this amplifier to me is the star of the show, you all. There's such good snap and pop in that top end that it really surprises me, y'all. The top end just has this beautiful sparkle, big airy sound stage. I mean, airiness is just outstanding, y'all. And even the imaging, you know, hearing different things beside my head and the depth of the overall layering of the sound stage, yes, the 6000A is outstanding. I mean the 8300A. I didn't mean to say, see, I'm getting confused. The 8300A just had an outstanding sound stage. Now the Marantz PM8006, that has been one of my favorite amplifiers when it comes to center imaging. I mean, the center imaging with the Marantz is an imaging monster. But let me tell you something, even the center imaging with the 8300A, it's not as good as the Marantz PM8006, but the airiness and the how large the sound stage is, you know, being paired up to my speakers with the 8300A is better than the Marantz PM8006. And when it comes to instrument separation, man, let me tell you all something. This 8300A is on fire, y'all. I mean, it is on fire. Now, when it comes to that full flesh and body sound, like I was telling you, it is stronger than the 6000A. But the Marantz PM8006, you know, not just with the bass being stronger with the 8006, which I would say the 8300, you know, it is faster, it's quicker, it's more nuanced bass, but the overall flesh and body of the 8006 Marantz is just a little bit, I'm telling you all, it is barely a little bit stronger. But the overall dynamics with the 8300A, yeah, the dynamics are much better than the dynamics that I get from the Marantz PM8006. The only thing with my initial review with the Marantz was, the dynamics were just okay. But the 8300A, you all, let me tell you something. The dynamics are outstanding, and in that top end, that snap and that pop and that top end was very surprising for me. Now, tonality, yes, the 8300A overall, it just sounds much cleaner than the 6000A and the Marantz PM8006. And in the top end of the 8300A, there is a lot more excitement in the top end compared to the 6000A. A lot more excitement overall, but I'm not saying it sounds bright in the top end. It just sounds precise, you all. The 8300A has some serious precision to the overall sound. I mean, even when it comes to texture and tonality, again, instruments sound very good on this amplifier. Now, when it comes to speaker pairing, overall, when it comes to speaker pairing, my favorite speakers I paired up to the 8300A was no other than my reference stand mount speakers, the Triangle 40th Anniversary Edition Cometes. And I tell you all something, that was a great sound overall. And other people that have owned the 8300A, they have used speakers like Wharfdale Linton's, Mission 770s. It was like Wharfdale and Mission was like the favorite speakers to be paired up with this amplifier. But out of my dozen speakers, yes, my Triangle Esprit Easy Comets were my favorite. That kind of has, the 40th has a little bit of a warm tonality to it, especially in the mid-range. And where this 8300A is so transparent sounding, again, you all, it just gets out of the way of the speakers. Now, that won't be for everyone, because some people, they do like amplifiers that do add a little bit color to it. Now, one of the only caveats I had with the amplifier at all, for me personally, is I wish the pre-outs in the back of the amplifier, I wish, there's two of them, I wish they both wasn't single-ended. I wish they would have had like a XLR, fully balanced output. Even though it has the XLR input, which that is the main thing, I would have liked to have that XLR outputs. Now, another caveat that's going to be caveat for people out there, there is absolutely no tone controls with the 8300A. I mean, even with the 6000A, if you're using the built-in DAC of the 6000A, you have 3 settings inside of the 6000A. You have slow roll-off, fast roll-off, and you have phase. And with the 8300A, again, there's no built-in DAC. So if you was to buy the 8300A, you'd either have to buy you a DAC to hook up to it if you wanted to listen to digital files. Now, when it comes to the phono preamp, we do have one built inside of the 8300A. Another thing is, there's no headphone amplifier built with the 8300A, which we do get with the 6000A. So if you're somebody that listens to headphones, yes, you would need a headphone amplifier. But anyways, you all, that pretty much wraps it up for me today. Again, the 8300A is just has a very uncolored sound to it overall, and it has precision. Clarity and detail refinement with this amplifier is outstanding, you all. And until next time, this is TJ, the Stereo-Bargainphile.